What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Jared coming at you from northwest side of Oklahoma City. I hope all is well with y'all. I appreciate y'all sticking with me, and I just want to give a quick shout out to all those who have subscribed and been liking the videos and been showing the overwhelming support from church, friends, and family and stuff like that. I appreciate y'all. I'm actually really enjoying this. It's very challenging, but I love challenges and it's I'm growing a lot in this, and so I hope y'all are growing as well too. So we're gonna hop right into it. Ecclesiastes chapter 2. The futility of pleasure. I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look for the good things in life. But I found that this too is meaningless. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do to seek pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. And while still seeking wisdom, I clutched at foolishness. In this way, I tried to experience the only happiness most people find during their brief life in this world. I also tried to find meaning by building huge homes for myself and by planting beautiful vineyards. I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to collect the water to irrigate my many flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and others were born into my household. I also owned large herds and flocks, more than any of the kings who had lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and gold, the treasure of many kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, and had many beautiful concubines. I had everything a man could desire. So I became greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Verse 10. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was also meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing worthwhile anywhere. The wise and the foolish. Verse 12. So I decided to compare wisdom with foolishness and madness. For who can do this better than I, the king? I thought, wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. For the wise can see where they are going, but fools walk in the dark. Yet I saw that the wise and the foolish share the same fate. Both will die. So I said to myself, since I will end up the same as the fool, what's the value of all my wisdom? This is also meaningless, for the wise and the foolish both die. The wise will not be remembered any longer than the fool. In the days to come, both will be forgotten. So I came to hate life because everything done here under the sun is so troubling. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. The futility of work. Verse 18, I came to hate all my hard work here on earth, for I must leave to others everything I have earned, and who can tell whether my successors will be wise or foolish? Yet they will control everything I have gained by my skill and hard work under the sun. How meaningless. So I gave up in despair, questioning the value of all my hard work in this world. Some people work wisely with knowledge and skill, then must leave the fruit of their efforts to someone who hasn't worked for it. This too is meaningless, a great tragedy. So what do people get in this life for all their hard work and anxiety? Their days of labor are filled with pain and grief. Even at night their minds cannot rest. It is all meaningless. So I decided there is nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and to find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God. For who can eat or enjoy anything apart from Him? God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please Him. But if a sinner becomes wealthy, God takes the wealth away and gives it to those who please Him. This too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. So this is 26 verses. Not terribly long. Pretty nice. So just a couple things I gathered from this, and I have some questions too that I got, and I tried to answer the best I could. One thing I noticed, a quick takeaway from this too, is just in verse 3, he talks about it, he's like, I cheered myself with wine, he's like, I drank to try to find pleasure in that, like what most of us have done or will do in our lives. And for me, that's like, that I think about marijuana, that's something that I indulged in for a long time, and I found myself lost in that, and I would try to find pleasure in that, and I just like how open he is about it. He's just like, he's like 3 verses in, he's like, I tried to cheer myself with wine and try to experience all the pleasure of life that most people experience in their life, and I thought that was really cool. It's, yeah, anyways. And another thing I took away too is like Solomon, he asked for, he was I guess respected by God because he asked for wisdom. He didn't ask for all the riches of the world or all this other stuff, but the Lord was pleased that he asked for wisdom and he gave it to him. And and like Solomon, he had the choice of free will. Like us, we have the choice of free will to do whatever we want in our lives. Like we can live our lives for us, or we can live it for God, or however we want to do it, right? So he made a choice to experience all the pleasures of life. He talks about indulging in wine, building great houses, having vineyards, that's where he got all of his wine from, gardens and parks, servants, cattle and flocks, silver and gold, and even in music. It's different for everyone, but it's however you want to apply that, because we all try to find pleasure in these things. Music, for me for a long time it was marijuana, or building big homes, right? We try to find pleasure in that. And then he talks about too, you have to leave it all, everything that you work hard for, you have to leave it. And it's like you don't even know if your successor is going to be wise or foolish with that. And all of these things turned his heart and mind from God. And it's the same for me. Like whenever I was indulging in marijuana and getting lost in that, and it's something that I didn't even realize. I was like, oh, I'm just smoking a little bit here and there. And it's like I'm just smoking with my friends or whatever. But then it becomes a very bad habit, and then you just get lost in it. And I like verse 10 and 11. I believe it's verse 10 and 11. Let me go back real quick. I'm going to read 10 and 11 again. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was also meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. I read another translation, and he was like, I chose to find pleasure in all of my struggles. And that's for me, I would mask my struggles of life with marijuana, because it would temporarily give me pleasure, and it would temporarily mask what was really going on. So that's how I kind of relate that to my life. Just a couple questions. Why is it so difficult to enjoy all of the blessings of this life and focus on God and eternal values? Because I feel like that, that's the principle. God has given us so many things to enjoy in this life, but our priority should be to live in God's will, and to focus on the eternal values. Because that, like I said in the last video, the only thing that's everlasting is salvation, right? And that came with Christ. But the reason it's so hard to enjoy all these things, it's our natural tendency, as sinners to forget God, because that's what happens. We forget God, and we indulge in all of these things that are temporary, that are blessings from Him. And it's we forget where the blessings come from. It's yes, you might have amassed great wealth and a beautiful home and all this stuff, but you can't forget where it came from. You can't forget who your provider is, Or if you take, it's finding joy in your work. Your job, yeah, they provide and they pay your bills and stuff like that, but the Lord blessed you with that. So it's you can't forget who gave you that. The second one I'm going to ask is, why did God prompt Solomon to write such a sad commentary on life? And just to put it simple, it's a lesson to us. It's a lesson to all of us. So Paul wrote 1 Corinthians, and he was writing to the church of Corinth. And I'm going to read this. And it kind of what he's doing, he's referring to the Old Testament, the leaders in the Old Testament. So 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 11 and 12. These things happened to them as examples for us. These things happened to them as examples for us. They were written down to warn us who live at the end of the age. If you think you are standing strong, be careful not to fall. And so as you can tell, with Solomon, he had everything. He's one of the richest people to ever live, no doubt. And he started off well. He started out with this wisdom, and then that he ended up, even though he started well, it didn't end well for him, because he wanted to find pleasure in everything around him and not what was above him. So yeah, why is this in the scripture? And it's to warn us, because it's you look at everything that he was indulging in and everything that he was trying to find pleasure in, and what he kept saying, it's just all meaningless. No matter how hard he tried to find pleasure in it, it's all meaningless. No matter how hard I tried to mask my struggles with marijuana, it just never fixed anything, right? So yeah, so he started well and he didn't end well. And then I'm going to leave it at this, and it was just kind of the principle. So God has given us many things to enjoy in this life, but our priority should be to live in God's will and focus on eternal values. We can't get too caught up, and we have to keep God at the forefront of our lives, like where everything comes from and the way things go that they do, because it's, like I said in last videos, I'm going to continue to say it, like it's all a lesson. Like his shortcomings and his failures, King Solomon, it's a lesson to us, and I'm sure like once y'all read that chapter, you will see that, because you see it these days, like everyone, it's like a big thing now to be a rapper and to make all this money and stuff, and then it just destroys them. You can look at, for example, like Juice WRLD. I mean, that's the most recent one, right? Like this. He was so caught up in all of that it just destroyed him, and it was all emptiness and meaningless, right? So yeah, I mean, we can apply this to our lives, and big takeaway for me is just to not forget God, to always remember that we have all of these great things. Like I have this apartment, and I have a lot of great things to be thankful for, and it's not to. It's okay. I guess it's okay to seek more, but you just have to remember that God is your provider, right? Stick with me, guys. We'll be in chapter 3 here in a few days. I'll be studying that, and y'all should study ahead. Again, constructive criticism, feedback, prayer request, thoughts or comments, just leave it in the comments below. If y'all have prayer request and it's kind of unspoken or something like that, or y'all don't just feel comfortable dropping in the comments below, y'all can DM my Instagram, @surrender Christ follower, no underscores, no dots, nothing like that. Anyways, I hope y'all are having a blessed night, and I hope that y'all's evening just goes well, guys. I'm actually getting ready to head to a Bible study right now, so love y'all. I'll see y'all soon, okay? Peace out.